Hello.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for sparing your time to join us on a weekend. We're really excited to see all of you here. And let me just quickly run you through how this day is going to proceed and what all we are going to do today. Before we start, I want to just show you a little overview of our work on a very, very short video that sort of encapsulates it. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Here it is. So that's just a little bit of what we do. Uh, and what we are doing today is really getting all of you to talk to each other and to get parents to talk to each other as part of this beautiful journey of career and college guidance. So a little bit of context of, exactly what we are doing with this session here before we really leave you to each other to talk, ask questions and get the answers that you want. So we are really working in an environment which is very different from the environment that us parents grew up in. So this is our environment that we grew up in. You know what hunting and gathering was. You were basically asking medical karna hai ki non medical karna hai. That was the world that we grew up in. And this is the world that our children grow up in, where there are so many different options for them to look at. And in fact, the options are not just in terms of careers, but also in terms of destinations, that where can you study. At the undergraduate level, we really didn't have a lot of these options. And so what we've done today is that we've got parents whose students have either successfully navigated the college application journey into these countries, or have students who are already studying in these countries, to really give you a view from the ground of what the process, the journey is like, and what it feels like for children to actually be studying there, because these are very, very new options for a lot of us. So how this day is going to run is that we'll start with focusing on India. The reason being that I see that everybody applies to India. Even if you are really looking at top colleges in the US, you will put in that one Ashoka application saying, just in case my kid has to study in India, there should be one great option. Or, Krea or Plaksha, some of the top universities in India. And then we move on to Singapore and UK. And then we have about half an hour focused on the US and about 20 minutes or so focused on Canada. So we have parents whose children have either navigated this journey successfully or are already studying here, to really give you their learnings, their experiences of what the journey is like. I myself as a counselor had learned a lot when my children were applying to college. In the sense that it's one thing to say that I'm helping other students get there, but when kids are actually going through the journey, you understand what it takes to balance exams and applications, what motivating a child to finish the projects that they've started so enthusiastically is all about, how children change their mind, and how you can really help them navigate the path with self motivation rather than from a push by the parents. So I learned a lot from my parenting experience, and every year all of us, we learn a lot from each of the parents that we work with. And that's why annually we do this event where we get parents to really connect with each other and to share their learnings and their experiences, both for our learning and for yours, right? So this is how we see the role of parents, school, and counselor. The fundamental is really always parents. They are nurturing, they are inspiring, they're constantly setting the path for the students and providing the scaffolding on which all their dreams are placed. And then the school plays the second most critical role, where they are really educating them and preparing them for whatever dreams you are setting them up for. And then our role, which is probably comes towards the end, is the role really of guiding them that, okay, now with all your talents and all your dreams, what's the direction that is most correct for you, and helping launch them really in that direction. So that's roughly what we do. This is a little bit of our work. Find yourself, find your Harvard is really what we say. We are a self-discovery based firm. We want the student to be firmly ensconced in the driver's seat, and the rest of us, parents, counselors, are all sitting in the car with them, but it's their journey and we want them to be leading it. We say find your Harvard because we think that Harvard is not the right college for everybody, but there is a perfect college for each one of us. And, even if I have a student who's really not performing so well academically, there's a perfect college for them to really be self-motivated, ambitious, and to achieve their dreams. So we help you find whether the Ivy Leagues are where you want to end up, or top universities in Canada or UK or Ashoka or Plaksha or Krea in India, or a university that really suits who you are as a student and as a person. So we offer career guidance, we offer profile guidance, as well as we offer college guidance. In career guidance, we do a simple program called Head Start in grades 8 and 9, and a deeper program called Pathfinder in grades 10, 11, and 12 to really choose your primary path, backup option, long-term option. Then, we work with you in really helping you then build profile towards whatever plan you've made, through giving you learning resources to learn more about whether it's economics or engineering or computer science or psychology. Apply for the best and most suited summer programs, prepare for contests that work for you. And we run academic research programs for those students who have the ambition to write a research paper, and self-led projects called prep labs. And then, of course, we work with students very in-depth in college guidance, college lists, essays, applications across India and US, Canada, UK, EU, Asia. So here are some of our acceptances, and many of these parents are already on this panel that you will be speaking with. All right, so here we go. This is a simple chart actually that before we start is a good idea for you to perhaps take a screenshot of. It's a country comparison in terms of cost, in terms of ease of admission, in terms of possibilities of prospects and work visas after you finish college. So often I find that parents find this very useful. So you might want to take a screenshot of this and keep it as a sort of background as you navigate this journey of different countries with our parents. All right, so here we are, and let's begin with taking a look at India. And I want to welcome our panelists today. We have Mohit Mittal. His daughter Sana Mittal is a very hardworking child, and we are really, really proud of her admission into Ashoka this year. And Mohit, you're there, yeah. And Sunaina's son Prithvi was one of our most delightful students, Sunaina, if I may say so. With lots of very different, colorful ideas. And I really enjoyed working with him, and he's really enjoying his journey at Krea as well. So she'll be giving you a view of Krea. And we have Nupur. Nupur has joined, right?
Yeah.
There you are.
Yes, she's here.
Okay, wonderful, right. So Nupur, whose daughter Isha beautifully interwove her interest in art and history to present this interdisciplinary profile with which she applied to Ashoka. So here we are, and Mohit, Nupur, Sunaina, if you'll just give a 1-minute introduction of yourself and what your kid is doing, and then we can start off.
Okay, thank you, Richa. So I would start. So my kid, Sana Mittal, she's presently studying in Pathway School, and she's basically an environmental enthusiast, and her background, her extracurriculars all have been into environmental studies mostly. And Ashoka was always our first choice, and we are lucky that she got into Ashoka. At Ashoka, she plans to pursue again economics and environment. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's Sana, like I was telling you, she's a very hardworking and interesting student, and again with this strong interdisciplinary focus. So, Nana, do you want to give a view of you and what Prithvi is doing?
Hi. Prithvi is currently, he's just finished his first year at Krea. It just got over 2, 3 days ago. And he had several interests. One of them was psychology. So he was thinking that when he went. It's a liberal arts college. So the first year was you could take anything you want to. You could choose whatever. You did, in fact, you did every subject. In the second year, he will choose his two main subjects. So, and the good thing is that he's still not exactly sure, and that doesn't matter because you can keep changing your major and your minor until the third year where you have to decide what you're going to do. So he is enjoying it, and first 6 months were a little dicey because it was in the south. He didn't know anybody, it was it was like a culture shock almost, which was very good. And I'm glad he went, but in the last 6 months, he said, no, I love it here. I don't want to switch. We even gave him the option to switch. Uh, so yeah.
That's an interesting perspective, and I'm sure parents would like to know more about the Kriya environment because it's away from Delhi NCR. Parents, please feel free to start putting questions down in the meeting group chat for our panelists. Nupur, if you could just briefly introduce yourself also.
Hi, I'm Isha's mom, and Isha's just also finished her first year at Ashoka. And Isha also went with she's studied psychology in school, and she also did her essay with Richa on psychology based on the monuments of Delhi. So, so Naina said, the first year is liberal arts, so they have to study almost all subjects. A good thing is that I don't know if Isha got chosen or the coach chose her, but Isha's in the school, the college tennis team. So, which was unexpected, we didn't think that it would happen to her. But that way, Ashoka is so holistic and it is so encompassing that Isha just loves it there. Her brother's in Michigan, but she has 100 points for Ashoka rather than anywhere else.
Wonderful. So good to hear this. And I think one of the main things that most parents want to know about universities like Ashoka and Kriya is this whole liberal arts thing. Because it's a newer concept in India. So all three of you chose this liberal arts university. So if you can give us an idea, particularly Nupur and Sunena, who are experiencing it, that what is liberal arts and how does it feel? What does it feel like?
Okay, so when Isha first went there and she said, I'm also studying science and I have a history class and I have this and I have that, and she was doing fairly well in that. But now, towards the last semester, she had entrepreneurship classes, which she had never even heard of, or she didn't know what those mean or whatever. But the faculty in Ashoka is what it is, so they really gripped her into it, and it was a little overwhelming. But she was also sent on a field visit for a Wipro, at Wipro some marketing something. So she had to meet a Wipro marketing agent in Delhi, a woman, and then they had to go around and do some research work, and she had to present that. So I just feel Isha was not hadn't gone for entrepreneurship, but since it came to her from a liberal arts college as a holistic, approach to whatever she can do, the world is an open space to her. She can do whatever she wants. So that's what liberal arts. I mean, that's what I understood out of that college.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. Yeah, that's actually amazing that she really got to explore something because, like, when we went to DU, then there wasn't any such flexibility. If you were doing economics, you were doing economics. So, Nana, what's your experience of liberal arts been like?
So when we kept asking him in the first year, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And he said, oh, I'm going to do everything. And for us, it was a little bit of a, so what do you mean everything? There must be some subject. They said, no, everything. So when we went there, we actually caught hold of one of the teachers and I said, what is he going to study? So he said he's going to study everything. And basically it's what do you call it? It's a foundation course. So you actually do everything. And somehow, because we are from that time where you choose, like you said, economics or architecture or whatever. So for us to grasp it was a little bit difficult, but I think it's a great thing because now his focus has kind of shifted from psychology. He now wants to do stock trading. I don't know where that came from, but he started doing various courses. They do philosophy, they do economics, he did very well in economics, which was a shock to us because we thought he would be more towards the English,
Yeah,
history,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
psychology and all. So yeah, it's really opened up a lot of things we didn't know that he could do. So otherwise, the like I said, it's a it's a cultural mix, and we are very happy about that. We did try for Ashoka; he was on the wait list, but the moment he got into Krea, he accepted and then stopped studying. So for his final exam, so that's what happened to him. So, but he was like, "I've got in now. I have no." So we were a little worried, it's far off because you go to Chennai and then it's about 2 hours from there by either you take a train or local train or you take a cab or whatever. But it's got people from all over the country, a lot of people from the south. He's experienced this new culture which he didn't know existed, quite frankly. You're sitting in Delhi, you don't know anything about the rest of India. And he can't come back every weekend and meet the same people again. So I feel that in terms of broadening his horizon, it was just the best thing that happened. And now he went, instead of coming back to Delhi, he went to Bombay with his roommate. They're planning to go around the south. So apart from the studies, of course, it's that whole new world that opened up, and we are very, very happy about that.
North Indian kids often don't see that part of India at all. So you're
And they
saying
don't know
that's
anything
like,
about it either. They have
yeah,
no clue.
absolutely.
So that was a very, very interesting thing that happened, and we're very happy. He's very happy there now. He doesn't even want to
Wonderful,
come back.
Sunena. There's this question that one of the Pooja has asked, which I think everybody can answer. And Mohit, why don't you go for it first? The question is, why didn't you go for US universities? How did you decide to make your kids study in India for graduation and not USA?
Yeah, so yeah, happy to take that. So see, our choice was very simple. That first of all, our priority is best education for our kid, right? So that goes beyond, our choice for any region. So of course, when we were choosing a college for Sana, we wanted the best we can get. So when we did our research, we understood. We went to Ashoka also. The vice chancellor of Flame, Mr. Dishan Kamdar, is my professor from ISB. So I understand Flame also, in depth. And of course, we did our research at Ashoka, and then we came to a conclusion that in terms of faculty, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of opportunities, Ashoka is at par with any of the international colleges, right? Of course, there can be exceptions. So we can't say that colleges like Stanford, Harvard, Ashoka, can match that. But if we see that the convenience, the the kind of faculty Ashoka has, the infrastructure Ashoka has, we found that it is the best education we can give our kid. So it was a very easy decision for us to choose Ashoka over choosing a college at US or any other country.
Right. Sunena, Nupur, do you want to add anything there?
Yeah, so US was out because firstly the how far it is and the cost, as well as I had my own issues about gun violence and all of that in the US. I think around that time there were a lot of incidents, and UK, Canada we were looking into, but eventually we realized it's just too far away, and when there are good universities here in India, and if he gets in here, because that was another issue that so everybody applies to India. So, and if they get in, they generally tend to stay here. So what we applied over here, we were very happy with him here. In his for his masters, he can go. And the thing is, he didn't know what he wanted to do, right? So we didn't just want to send him just like that. If a child knows what they want to do and they're very clear, like I want to do, microbiology or whatever else, which they get into that particular college that they want to go to in the US, that's one thing. But if you don't know what you want to do, then we weren't sure, what's the point of sending him all the way? Let him go for his master's when he knows that this is what I want to do.
Makes sense, Sunena, right? Nupur, do you want to add anything there?
So Isha was always very, very sure since her brother was already studying in Michigan. and she knew, like, she knew how it feels for to be so far away or whatever. I don't know, but she chose India for herself, and in India she chose only Ashoka for herself. She told Richa that that's the only college I'm applying for, and that's what happened. But the good thing in Ashoka is that you do get a chance to have a semester abroad. So she's very excited about that. That eventually in the third year, I think they'll get an opportunity to do that. So yeah, I think she'll get the best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds, absolutely. Now, I just want to address a few questions that parents are asking here. One is, what are some other options for students in India other than Ashoka and Krea? So, I would say some of the universities that are most highly ranked, Plaksha is one for STEM. It's doing very well, though it's relatively newer compared to the other universities. But they have a lot of types with universities abroad. 4 or 5 of our students are studying there, and we have very good feedback from them. And then Flame University, which is one of the oldest liberal arts universities in India, based in Pune. Many of our students are studying there. We have excellent feedback from them. They have design courses as well. Someone was asking about design and architecture. So that's another good one. After that, you would look at places like Christ, NMIMS, Symbiosis, etc. But these 4 universities, in terms of the private universities, I think would sort of stand head and shoulders above the others, right? Shiv Nadir University is also really coming up. I think they had some initial teething trouble for the first few years, but they are, now doing quite well. Mohit, your hand is raised. You want to say something about this?
Yeah, so another thing which I would like to add, for our decision to choose Indian, college, was that post-COVID, we realized that a lot of, top students, have chosen to, pursue education in these Indian colleges. So what used to happen is that, anyone in India who, any top students, like, the cream, who wanted to study liberal arts, most of them used to study abroad. But so what has changed post COVID is that a lot of those students are choosing these Indian liberal art colleges. So what it happens is the quality of students which we are looking our kid to be studying with, that we are able to find now in Indian colleges as well, as Ashoka, Plaksha, Flame, etc.
Absolutely.
So that is another important reason to choose these Indian colleges for us.
Universities. Absolutely. So someone's asked about Jindal, Ruchi. So, we have some students who are studying in Jindal. So I believe they are still sort of stabilizing their academic reputation, if I may say so. Some of our students report that, about 10-15% of the class is very serious about their academics. So I think Jindal, they started off very strong, but I think that their academic reputation is falling a little behind these universities, so which is why we had not mentioned them among the top 5, right? Okay, so there's a question over here about tennis and Ashoka. And I wanted to say, I don't know if any of the parents know anything differently. We've not really seen students entering Ashoka through the sports route as such. Being a good tennis player can reduce, in a sense, the academic rigor that Ashoka requires at the admission level. So it could be that, mostly I found that students who have a predicted of above 90% would be sort of accepted at Ashoka. So if you're really like a national level tennis player, or you are, really rated at the national level, you might find that they're a little bit more lenient when looking at your grades. But we've not really seen the sports route as an admission route for Ashoka as yet. I mean, I don't know if any of the parents know anything differently. Well, no. Okay, all right, great. So now
I mean,
this one's
like I said, that Isha's in the college tennis team. So I mean, she was a good player, but not a pro tennis player. So if someone is, then the college also identifies them, I think, and gives them the correct opportunity.
right. So, Raghav Modi is asking, Nupur, and this one is for you, that we
Yeah.
keep hearing about staff and faculty issues at Ashoka. Any thoughts on that? How does it impact students?
Not at all, not at all. The Ashoka has a lot of opinionated professors and students alike. So that's their thing. I mean, everyone's allowed to have their opinion. Ashoka is very liberal in that way, progressive in that way also. But Isha's been there for the last 1 year now, and I've never seen even a day of academic setback or any kind of setback or residential setback that they have faced. Only the part that right now They were the routes were shut for some time. That was it. Besides that, they've never had any other issue. Absolutely not. And they have a very reassuring mail that they send to parents all the time to say that everything is in control, everything is all right. So you feel good, you feel secure.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to address Meghna's question, who's saying for undergraduate business studies, do you suggest India or USA? Ashoka and Krea don't have this option, is what I know. So Krea has a business minor. So students can pick up the business minor. I don't know. Do they have a business major, Sunaina? I don't think so, right?
I don't know actually.
I don't think they do. I think they have a business minor, and Ashoka has a like a entrepreneurship minor, and they have a economics and finance course. So I would say for business studies in the US is not a STEM course, so that would give you like 1 year post-study work visa. So unless you're looking at like business studies and data analytics, or a slightly more mathematical version of business studies that gives you a 3 year post-study work visa, I would say it may be better to do your undergrad in business in India and then apply for a STEM course to the US, because that 3 years of post-study work visa in the US gives you a little bit more stability to find yourself, find a job. But we can address that in more detail later. Kriya has BBA. It probably does. If somebody can just quickly check Romi, Anjana, and just let me know. I do think that Kriya has a business maid. Yes, not as major. We'll just check and let you know before we are done with this session. Right? Okay, student life at Kriya Premal. This is for you, Sunena. How does it compare to Ashoka and Flame, like clubs, etc.? Do they have a vibrant social life? We know Ashoka and Flame have a vibrant social life.
Yeah, so they have clubs. They have in fact, my son went and started the athletics club over there. They have a very happening gym and all of that, table tennis. They have cricket, so they have a lot of sports. In terms of clubs, I think they do have clubs, although he's not joined up. He's more sports oriented, so he's joined more sports. But vibrant life on campus is one thing, but off campus there's nothing there. It's a place called Sri City, and it's an industrial hub. It's got huge, big factories, a lot of Japanese people there, all of that. But it's again on the outskirts of Chennai, actually inside Andhra Pradesh. So for anything outside of school, they'll have to go to Chennai to do anything. Within the campus, I know that they have sports, which is what mostly he's been doing. And they have their, get-togethers, and they have drama, and they go for hikes. So they have this thing where, because Andhra, that is very beautiful, and you can go off for a hike, you can go off, here and there. So they do have that. Plus, Sri Harikota is there. It's where the rockets take off from. So they can go to, they can explore that. And every time there's a launch, some students can go over there if you pre-plan it and, go to that whole center, Satish Dhawan Center, all of that. So they do have all of those things.
Right. So this question is for all three of you. It's about whether academics is all it takes for application, as in Ashoka said, Priya also says that academics is not all there is. So what does it take to make a successful application to private liberal arts colleges? Mohit, why don't you go first? Can people hear me?
Yes,
Someone saying they can't
yes.
hear. I'm audible? Okay, great. Yeah.
So answering specifically to the academics thing. So yeah, of course, you're absolutely right when you are when you say that academics is not the only criteria for admission to these colleges, and I strongly believe that these colleges are looking at the holistic application of the candidate.
Acha, Bunny
But
wants to see a photo of you there. He said, "I'm there." So is he actually going? I said, "Yeah, he's going."
Right, right. Go ahead, Mohit.
so yeah, coming back to that. So of course, all these colleges look at the holistic application, but they also look at excellence. So, what I mean by excellence is that, yes, if a student is jack of all, I don't think so that these colleges will kind of like your application. They like jack of all and, a king of something. So that is why, it is easier generally to be a king in academics. It is easier to kind of show that, right? So that is why, there is sometimes, that bias that, if you are great in academics, then it is easier to get into these colleges, because as per my understanding, it is very easy to show your, expertise in academics, and very difficult to show, in other, any other, part, extracurricular for that matter. So I'll give you example of Sana, right? So we never worked, on her application specifically, to do something unnatural. So luckily, from her class 4 or 5, she was always into environmental, side. So her projects, all her extracurriculars, her extended essays, naturally were in environment, right? So her passion, I mean, it was very easy for anyone to, understand and observe that she has a very, very clear passion. And of course, she's not a 99 kind of a student in academics. She's a 85, I would say, if you compare it with CBSE. In IB, she's a 35 out of 43 student, right? Which I believe is not on the very, very brighter side, to be honest. But because, she had a very, very passionate and clearly visible extracurricular, which was specifically into environment, right? I thought that tilted, a lot in her favor.
Right.
So what I would suggest to anyone is that, if you are, looking, I mean, don't go for unnatural ways to build your profile, because, people who are evaluating your application, we have to understand they are a notch above us, right? So anything, which we try to build up in this last, in a short duration, might not help. So I would rather say that, you have to build on the strengths of your kids. If they are doing something, in the last 5 years, build more on that, rather than, doing, some small, short-term NGO thing, which is not as per their, history. So build your profile in what your, child is already doing last 4 5 years.
Right, absolutely. Sunena, Nupur, do you want to add that, what does it take to get a student into a good private liberal arts university in India?
Yeah, I think what Mohit said was absolutely correct. You should build on the strengths of the child. So that's what, thanks to Richa, I think her and Prithvi got along very well, and she was able to, you were able to tell him that his strong point was, the way he presented himself. He was very good in writing. He was good with this podcast. So, we built on that. He did a couple of podcasts. He wrote a couple of articles, and he did what he liked and what he was good at. So I think that really helped build his overall profile. Also gave him a lot of confidence to then when the interview stage came. He was very, he was very expressive. They asked him about what he was doing, and he could easily say it because he liked it. So I agree, don't do things which are, unnatural. But then it's also good to do those things, maybe a little bit, work for an NGO for just one semester, one
Just a
internship
little
slot.
bit.
It's a very good thing, so that it gives them a good knowledge of what maybe they don't want to do later on. Or,
And in fact, what he did is that he did a podcast for an NGO because, the media was really his strength. So he was able to combine that and, so it all came together very beautifully, his blog, his podcast, as well as his work with the NGO. So Nupur, do you want to add to that?
So, Richa, I think you must be remembering when Isha said I'm a photographer and I like monuments. You said why don't you put everything together, and you made her do the psychology of the monuments. So she revisited some of the monuments, and she like Jamali Kamali and some of the forts I don't remember. So she went and read why they were built and what was the psyche behind building them. And she made a whole project as guided by Richa and her team. And when Isha had the college interviews, what I really liked about Ashoka is they are point on. Like, they do not care about what grades you have got, from which school you have come. Their interview was it. So I was standing outside the room and really, like, I was anxious as to what was happening inside. The lady on the other end told Isha that if you have made such a project, I want to see it right now while we are communicating. So Isha had to buy the, like, side by side, open her another gadget and show the whole thing. And so two things came across to the interviewer, that it was genuine, whatever the child is saying is genuine, and B, they did not give the child time to think. So what came very natural to the child came in front. It was not a pre-upped kind of an interview. So that way Ashoka is very smart. So they pick up the right timing and the right thing from the child at the right moment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. That's sort of an overview of some of the Indian universities. Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to hang on and listen to other parents share their experience from other universities. We will now be shifting our focus towards UK and Singapore, because UK has particularly become very popular since 2019 or so, when they started their post-study work visa again. And Anjana, whose son studied at University of Cambridge, our principal counselor, she'll be guiding you with your questions and taking you through some of that. Just a little overview of Anjana as well. Anjana, over to you.
Thank you, Richa. Great to be here and great to see such an engaging discussion around what actually makes a good college application for India or for other countries. And so for UK and Singapore, we have a St. Andrews parent here, Mehboob, whose daughter joined St. Andrews last year. And we also have Mr. Vaibhav Goyal, Vishrut's father, who Vishrut is studying in LSE, London School of Economics. And we also have Dr. Monica Kishore from NUS Singapore, National University of Singapore. So before we get into the discussion, how about why don't you just talk a little, give us a view about how you chose the college and how your child is doing there. Should we start with Mr. Vaibhav Goyal?
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me on this webinar. So Vishrut is now with London School of Economics. He's in his first year. He's doing his BSc Management. He has been with Heritage Gurgaon for most of his academic profile, and class 11th and 12th he had IB with him. When we went about the process, I heard the panel on the India University side. So like it happens with everybody, India was definitely one of the active university profiles that we had applied for. And Vishrut had got through Ashoka and Flame from the limited colleges that he'd applied for. And then he was keen for exploring UK and Singapore, and we had got admissions through the UCAS process in the UK universities.
All right, perfect. Can we have Mehboob here, right? About
Hi.
yes, how is it at
Hi.
St. Andrews? How is Mariam doing?
Mariam's doing very well at St. Andrews. She's very happy to be there. And we also, we got round to choosing St. Andrews in a roundabout way. She got into Ashoka here as well, because we wanted her to try for some Indian college, and we had applied to only Ashoka. And she got into Ashoka. And then at the beginning, she wanted to go to Canada. And in fact, we applied to the UBC campus, Vancouver, and she got in there also. But then, and to the UK through UCAS, and she got into King's and some other colleges. But in the end, we decided on St. Andrews because she was quite sure she wanted to do psychology, and she liked their psych program. And Richa was very helpful in guiding us throughout the whole process. And the team was wonderful as well. And it just organically turned out to be that St. Andrews was the best fit for her. And she is quite happy there now. And it's a wonderful,
Right.
it is really a very lovely university. They take good care of the children. It's very safe, and it's like a university campus. The whole town is like a university town.
Yes, in
So,
Scotland. That's great to hear, Mehboob. We'll just be taking more questions around that. So, Dr. Monica Kishore, if you could just give us an overview of how Arushi is doing at NUS Singapore.
Coming to Arushi, yes, touch wood, we are very happy and she's doing very well. I'm very happy with Singapore. Her journey started with getting applications. I mean, she got her from Canada and University of Toronto. Then she got LSC because we had applied in UK too. She got St. Andrews, she got King's. But Singapore always comes late with their results. And the moment we got anywheres, yeah, so we definitely opted for that due to various reasons. Of course, she's doing psychology, which she's combined it with business. And I think overall, her journey has been quite very fruitful. She had a good profile, and of course, Richa and team helped a lot in molding her. And so we were confused between UK and Singapore. So finally, our decision went towards NUS.
Wonderful, wonderful to know that. I request everyone to just keep posting your questions on UK and Singapore colleges. In the sense, like as Richa mentioned, my son graduated in 22 from Cambridge with a master's in engineering, and he did not have issues with the job or anything. I just wanted to understand from Mehboob and WebHub, how is the situation on the internship factor? Is the colleges, are they helping out? How is it? I know they are just finishing their first year. If you could just throw some light around that.
Who would like to go first?
You can go, Mehboob, yes. How is it?
Okay. So first year, yes, the colleges do help you. Like there is an active research internship you can do in St. Andrews, but the students have to be a bit proactive and apply to their professors who they like. First year is usually, well, they usually start internship after the first year if the college is involved. Otherwise, they can do something, organize something privately on their own. But I know Mariam did not apply for internship this year in the UK, but she's doing something here in India. But I know that a friend of hers who is also studying psychology there got a research internship in the university itself. And that is online. She has to research for something. She has to do a research project with one of the psychology professors.
All right.
So yes, so they are helpful, and the career. Sorry.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's a very. They do have a strong career advice team there also. And they are quite helpful. Like if you go, you have to of course interact with them, and they do help with various things. So, but as yet, Mariam hasn't done an internship in the UK. She is doing one here in India at the moment.
Perfect. So, since we are on St. Andrews, would you like to throw some light on what are the, you talked about that, yes, it's a university town and it's slightly away from, it's just the whole town is there. Are there any challenges that you noticed that Mariam has faced while settling down? And I know that St. Andrews is very, supportive when it comes to settling the students. But if you could just share experiences on that.
I guess it's the usual, first time out of India. And here they lead a very pampered life. And there they have to do everything on their own. So, of course, so it takes a little bit of getting used to. But I think that most students manage to do that. And it's just the initial settling in period. The food, she didn't like the food. The food in the halls was not very nice at all, and very bland and all of that. But there are enough places around like which are not very expensive. So she managed, and she's supposed to be cooking her own some food so that she can,
That's nice.
Yeah, so that's from next semester, I would think so. So it's just that it's a very good place, and and it's a very safe place. That was one of the reasons why we were
Of
we
course.
read upon St. Andrews. And the student community is very strong. There is enough Indian students, Indian students as well there now. So the major amount is American. They come from the US because the it's more of a US system, like it's a 4-year program, and you can
Yes.
change your major.
Yeah.
So
And
that was another
St.
reason
Andrews is one of the only few that allows you to change your major in UK.
in the UK, that's right. So it's
Yeah.
based on the American system, which was another reason why we chose it.
Mhm.
And it has a lot of societies. The Indian society is very active. In fact, they celebrated Holi and Diwali and all those things, and they have Bollywood nights and all of that. So, and they have a very nice system which helps the students settle in. They have this something called a adopt a family, like the senior
I
students
think
from
we'll,
year the freshers.
yeah.
Get
All right. So the thing is,
into
yes, just to yeah,
they help them ease them into the college life, which is
okay.
I think Mehboob's internet is breaking.
Internet is little
sorry.
patchy. I think that's where. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to
hold
ask,
on just a minute. Just let me see.
right. So Dr. Monica Kishore, I understand that Arushi
Can
is a UK
is this
citizen.
better? Sorry?
I understand that Arushi is a UK citizen,
Yes,
and
yes,
you still
yes.
went ahead and chose Singapore as the destination for
Yes.
Arushi. What were
And
your
especially after getting LSE and King's and St. Andrews, and of course we had got Ashoka in India too. But yes, there were a lot of factors which we kept in mind before making our decision. I think again, 4 years course, second flexibility of course choices, 2 majors, you can have 3 minors, you can have
Okay.
2 majors, which is flexibility, you know about it in Singapore, it is there. Then
Mhm.
third is the ranking. NUS ranking in the world is 8th in the world now. It
Okay.
definitely has a lot of,
Are you not
it helps in the longer run. More
Mhm.
opportunities for the masters, prospects are better.
All
I would think Richa would agree with me as onto that as well.
yes. Yeah.
And I think mainly is the proximity to India.
Mhm.
It's closer to India. It feels at home. It's a campus life, and it has the same cultures, safe
Okay.
country. I think I can talk so much about it.
All right, perfect. Yes, Mr. Vaibhav Goel on London School of Economics, if you could tell us about how's the experience of Vishrut been in terms of settling down and the whole atmosphere around London, opportunities for internship, etc.
Sure. So it is obviously a contrast to a campus city or a campus college, like Mehboob explained on St. Andrews. LSE, King's, UCL, Imperial, these are all city colleges. So you really part of the main city, and there is no formal lines of campus around it. So your accommodation is usually independent. There are obviously pros and cons of it, and as parents, obviously, we were quite apprehensive of the same. However, our experience has been that because there are so many of such colleges quite close to each other in London, there's almost like an ecosystem of sorts for students in the same area. You get really good accommodations, which are almost like managed hostels, whether private or managed by the universities themselves. That's just like, for example, Vishrut kind of took in a private accommodation in a managed hostel building where he has students from various colleges, not only LSE. Just gives him that extra exposure to kids from other universities and other colleges. So I think that is one I would kind of contrast from. Uh, Obviously, that also brings in a set of challenges because you're in the city, so you're managing a lot of things on your own. Again, there's no good or bad in it, but we just feel over the last 8-10 months, he's become so much more independent and confident about himself. So just the life skills of managing yourself, managing food, managing your way to work, All of those are things I think that just kind of come upon you when you reach college.
Right. And London continues to rate high on the student satisfaction as far as the student cities go.
And I think we see a lot of students over there. We've been there a couple of times to see him over there. And, I mean, there's almost like an ecosystem of sorts because there are so many colleges close to each other in the city
Right.
of London. So it's kind of well set university. On the internships question and also on, so LSE encourages a lot of interactions with the industry. Almost every week, there are sessions where experts are called in from the industry in different faculties and they kind of share their experiences. Obviously, being in the city of London, there is that inherent advantage that it's easy for people to come in and go out. The other advantage again is that because you are in the city, so you get a lot of exposure to corporates and you're able to drive a lot of initiatives. So there are a lot of clubs that you can kind of be a part of. You can run a lot of those initiatives over there. And as a result of that, there is a well laid out program for internships. Again, usually in year two is when students take internship via the university route. After year one, you have to do it on your own. Similar to how Mehboob explained, Vishruth has not opted for an internship in year one. He wants to do it in year two. And there is again a well laid out process and a program through which you apply for internships and you get it to the corporates over there.
Great. So great to know that all these kids are having good experiences, very meaningful experiences as they move towards, as an independent life that they are leading in respective colleges. Dr. Kishore, we have some, questions related to Singapore. Is that what about, does Singapore, besides academics, what do the universities focus on in terms of extracurriculars? So if you could share about, how was Arushi's journey towards this application?
Uh, uh, one thing is that I think they look at very high grades, which is very clear.
Yeah.
So anything above 96 or 97% is something they are looking at. So, and they also look at something which you have achieved, that the child has achieved on the national level. That is, see, the clarity is not there. According to the other universities, we are not very clear, but this is what children gather from one another. And we got to know that this is what it is. And apart from that, I don't think they focus a lot on curricular activities. Yes, they generally see that a child, they see the profile, what child has done from 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, academics and curricular. But the focus is more, as I told you, your high ranks and something which is achieved, whether it's on sports, curricular, any other activity to national level. So, which helps them in the campus too. So they have a lot of activities in the campus which they offer. So I hope I'm able to answer that.
Yes.
I don't think I know much about it more than this.
All right. So we've also seen that though they focus on academics, there is, of course, a section in the application where they say, list your awards and achievements, talk about it. So which means there is a weightage given, but primary focus is high grades in the school years.
Yes.
Right. So I think I see a question about job placements after completion of course in UK colleges. Yes, I will tell you from my experience, as Vaibhav and Mariam also mentioned, that there are sessions around the careers at LSE. They invite companies and all. It depends on the students' initiatives. There are enough and more career fairs held every year. And then you apply, you take the internship. That's what happened in my son's case also. He got an internship and then he was offered a job straight away. in the where he interned at third year, he was told that you join us. Eventually, he didn't end up joining them. He joined another consulting company in UK, but he had his seniors from Cambridge who were there where he's working right now. So that helped. But yes, to answer the question, university does offer a number of opportunities through career fairs, career sessions with the industrialists. And at what I have noticed at Cambridge was that all the professors are also engaged in very interesting projects with the industries, where the students have to participate as part of the course. That's what happened in engineering. So that gave a lot of exposure and connect. For example, my son did a project with Rolls-Royce, and he was offered a job in Rolls-Royce. He also did with another airlines company, which I'm forgetting the name. It was his engineering project only that he had to submit. So that brought him, he had to do a whole lot of study with the company and the employees. That gave him a lot of exposure. So yes, universities do help. That I've seen across. Of course, it depends on the student. You have to show initiative, go beyond and say, that show your interest and participate in the activities that are happening in the university round. So that is there. In terms of, yes, so there's question, yes, between city colleges in London and the university town kind of colleges in UK, is the primary difference about the accommodation, or is there more to it? Maybe I think Mariam and Vaibhav, if you could tell us a little more about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Cost of living, I would think.
Mehboob, sorry, I only remember Mariam's name.
That's fine, don't worry. Cost of living is slightly cheaper in the London is an expensive city, so I think one can take that into account. And well, safety-wise also, I think, well, we thought St. Andrews would be safer than London. So that was one more thing. Vaibhav, I don't know, what do you feel?
Yeah, Vaibhav, what?
So Vishruth had admission offers from London School of Economics and Warwick, and Warwick obviously for the same program is much more well known. And there was always this dilemma of choosing between a campus city versus staying in the city of London. I think in hindsight, and he has friends in Warwick as well, I think it comes down to one, a sense of security. Obviously, if you're in a wider campus and you're kind of living together, there is almost like homogeneity of students that you're interacting with. There are pros and cons of that. I think the good part is that because there is homogeneity of students, they're all within Warwick. So you're much more enclosed, you're much more talking about the same topics, versus if you're living a independent city life, then you're susceptible to distractions all around.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I think that is one. I think I agree with the cost of living point as well. Certainly living in a city college is more expensive than the campus colleges. On the good part, I would say, while Warwick also invites a lot of industry, but like I said, there are so many more opportunities for industry interaction to happen if the college is in the heart of the city. So that just becomes an advantage. That just leads to another intangible advantage in the sense that there is because that college is known, people see it, industry sees it, corporate see it. So, just the reputation factor and the exposure that industry also gets to the college just kind of plays a very intangible benefit in terms of they have seen it, so they are more aware of it. And so, the opportunities we feel, obviously we haven't tested it yet, but we feel that the opportunities would be better
Yes.
compared vis-a-vis the campus universities.
True.
In those two things I would highlight as.
Yeah, so before we move on to the next destination, we have parents from US universities also have started to join in. My last question to Dr. Kishore, the general notion that I have heard is, and also having lived in Singapore, that the universities in Singapore have a very, very competitive environment when it comes to the academic rigor, and also how's your experience been with, or how's Arushi's experience been in this scenario?
Yes, I agree. I agree with you that there is a that type of spirit. But I would also say Arushi is coping quite well. That's
Okay.
nice. And she's quite comfortable. And I think she wanted this kind of rigor. And she's more comfortable in this kind of atmosphere. And she always was, even in her school, she was always interested in this kind of. So
Okay.
she's happy with this. It is, it, you're very right about the question, but I think we have to also understand that all the universities, even the universities which are high ranked in the world, whether it is US, it's Stanford or Oxford and Cambridge in UK, and all of them have very similar setup. So, because I have myself stayed in UK for 10 years and having worked there, so I know what is the setup in good places. All good universities, the top universities, are going to be very similar. So it's how the child takes it. What is very important is to take it in the child's perspective, and the child has to take it one by one and has to timely sort it out. And then it's just like what they do it in school, they have to do it in college. And
True.
I think the path remains quite easy. So she's not been having very difficult times at all.
Okay.
I think also we have to understand that they have a lot of Indian students. And why is it that a lot of Indian students also? Because there are a lot of students from DPS, um, from South, from Bangalore, from Delhi. So the reason being, so all these children are already prepared for this kind of rigor. So it helps and our Indian students are molded that way. So it's not that difficult for them to get into this kind of system.
All right.
I'm being honest. So it's not that difficult. It is difficult from somebody who's coming from UK to go to Singapore and start. It is going to be difficult, but an Indian student, it should not be very difficult.
Okay, that's great to know. And, just to the entire audience, if you have any more questions for UK and Singapore, you can paste it in the chat box. For, Vaibhav and Mehboob, one last thing, that what do you think the UK universities are looking for when it comes to selecting the students? What is their focus area?
Mehboob, you're on mute.
Oh, thanks, Vaibhav. They do focus on academics quite a lot. Unlike the US universities, academics is the main thing. And then, of course, if you round up your profile with something in tandem with your academics, that's a good thing. And Inomi was very good with helping us to do that. Like Mariam did psychology, and then Richa helped her to tie it up with art, which was her other passion. So she did the psychological profile of the artists or something like that. But academics is the main focus for UK.
Okay, good. Anything else to add to that, Vaibhav?
Yeah, I would just say that academics is primary focus, but they try and find for a well-rounded personality. Obviously, they don't go the last mile the way US does to look at, an extra dash of extracurricular activities or social projects, etc. But they really want to understand you are good at academics, you have taken a choice of a particular stream of subjects. What have you done towards it? And therefore, apart from the scores, they want you to do, things like having read books, having done projects, which are more relevant to your scheme of study. And that I think is very relevant for the UK application.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Perfect. I think that is, good to know, and know more insights from the UK and Singapore universities. So thank you very much, Dr. Kishore, Vaibhav, and Mehboob, for sharing your insights so
Thank
openly
you.
and the experiences. please hang around. We might have some questions further coming up in the chat box. But with that, we move to the next section of our webinar that's on US essentially. And we have US parents join in. I see that we have Deepta Anand, right? I see that Deepta's here. I see Diju is here. I see Shalu Vasu is here of Princeton parent. Diju is son Abhinav is headed to Brown this year. Deepta's daughter Tara has got admission in NYU, and we have Sheldeep who's joined from UK, whose daughter Sarah is headed to U Chicago this year. So welcome here to Inomi's Parents Counselors Meet. And we are very happy to have you here. And for the audience, please keep posting your questions and in the chat box. So my first question, I think I should ask Shalu about how has been, Mayan's experience at Princeton so far. It's been a year, and I'm sure when he made it, you must be so proud. But just tell us about his journey and what's the experience been so far.
Hi, Anjana. Hi, everyone. I actually was able to meet him a couple of weeks ago. I was there for work, and I managed to spend his birthday with him. So that was fantastic. It's been really, really amazing. I think he's now really settled in nicely. He has now a great bunch of friends, and he's really used to the place. And I think he's now starting to enjoy himself. When he landed up there, Anjana, he landed up there a bit cold, I would say. So he had to do 2 years of national service in Singapore, where he was basically walking around with a gun for 2 years, and he had he was off academics completely. And then landing up there, absolutely like Princeton engineering, academics after a long time. So I think he took a few weeks to kind of warm up, but now he's getting used to the place. He's even kind of okay with the cold. So he's now, I think, loving it. He's made great friends. And like I said, I had a chance to meet him. He, all the weird things that he could have done, he joined some Indian Bollywood club or something, where they had a big performance, and they had hundreds of people from Princeton come in, pay money to see their thing. So yeah, I think he's now loving it. He's now enjoying it, but he took his time to warm up.
Great, that's great to know. So Shell, thank you for making it. I know how your schedule is. And tell us a little more about how Sarah's journey has been with, college applications, and how are you feeling now? She's going to go to college soon. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, no problem at all. Right, always happy to be joining the team. So Sarah actually started her journey quite late, I think, compared to some of the other students. So she started it like a year and a half ago. And I think what helped that was that she was very clear as to what she wanted to do and where she wanted to do it. So essentially, then our role became easier, right? That, we just needed to enable her in terms of, helping her get to where she wanted to get to. So the first thing I did, which I think has proven to be really powerful, is talking to Richa. So
that's really
and we started working with the team. Yeah, obviously, so I had 6 months of break from work, so that helped me that, I had multiple different conversations, Anjana, to so many different people. And then when I talked to Richa, it just, clicked. And then obviously I saw Shalu's messages as well as to, how Inomi helped him. So that was really helpful. And then Sarah started the journey with Inomi, and then she worked extensively with you, Anjana. And I think the best thing that helped was that, it always felt like that you cared for what Sarah wanted to do. rather than focusing on process, timeline, so on and so forth. Because there's a whole lot of that needs to happen anyways. But I think that was really the core of it, that, she knew that, you were there to support her, and you were there to work with her, even with her, last minute things that she did throughout the process. So we live in London. So what I wanted to do her was to join a UK university, as you know that there are a lot of good options here. But she wanted to go to the US and practice law there. So that was the clear goal she had, and she had different ideas as to what she wanted to do. The challenge was that UK system, even though she goes to an international school, is not geared towards US as much. Meaning, for instance, she sings and she would sing in school graduation ceremonies. Her painting is on the wall of the school, but they're not geared towards awards, and which is really helpful in application stage. So that is something then basically she started working on. And then she had different ideas as to, what would be the core theme of her application and what different extracurricular brings from. UK is very focused on academics, while for US, there's so much more students need to do, and, academics is the foundation anyways. So, so that's what it's been so far.
Yeah. Thank you, Shell. That's encouraging to know. And for us, every student matters when we work with them, that yes, there are processes and, details to work on, but you got to be on top of it. It's quite challenging for the students. Yes, so Deepta, I see you. Thank you for joining, Deepta. Just tell us about your journey with Tara, now that she's headed towards college.
Sure. Sorry, my throat is not well, so I'm going to sound a bit weird. Actually, interestingly, I think our experience was pretty much the opposite of Shell in some ways. My daughter wasn't sure what she really wanted to do. And even today, while she's sitting on a bunch of sort of admissions, she's still not sure what she wants to do. So it's a kind of a slightly strange situation in the sense that she now has to choose, and due to the help of Inomi and Anjana, especially you, and the mentorship that you gave, she has a bunch of really good choices, I have to say. But I think the thing with the US is a kind of a double-edged sword. It's on one hand, the system here allows you to be what Tara is, which is kind of undecided even till now, and it's going to take her maybe a 1 or 2 years more even to decide. On the other hand, it kind of gets very difficult to figure out what to actually focus on if you are undecided. So in her case, I think she's sort of a moderately academic person, but one strong sort of thing that's always been part of her life is music. She's played a couple of sort of instruments. One of them happens to be a slightly rare instrument. But she also doesn't want to be a musician. So I think what really helped us was to talk to Inomi to understand how to kind of capture that strong interest and experience that she has with music, to help her with kind of incorporating that in the admissions process of saying that, look, I am interested not just in music, but I'm interested in how people relate to music. How do I actually kind of work with, how does psychology come into this whole space? How does the mind work with music? So it's been sort of an interesting journey to discover this whole process with her. And, I'm hoping that over the next 1 year, she's most likely to go to University of Toronto. Actually, that's what her first preference is. Hopefully she will discover more about herself and choose one field or the other.
Sure, that's great. So thank you so much, Deepta. So I remember the day the ED results came out, and we had Abhinav headed to Brown. And of course, it was a joy, and it was a very joyful moment for us also. And I'm sure. So just tell us about, when did you actually start this journey, and how did it work out with Abhinav?
Thanks, Anjana. Thanks, Richa, for having me on. So, like Shell was mentioning, we started very late. We actually woke up pretty late, and we had a totally confused child and even more confused set of parents. because we were really not prepared for him to go and do his undergrad outside India. We were very happy that, probably he'll do something close to home. And it just so happened that because there was so much of confusion, not only about what he wants to do and where he wants to go, the confusion was also about what subjects he needs to take in grade 11. So that is how I got talking to Richa, and then I realized that we really needed some kind of hand holding. So Abhinav, so we stay in Bombay. He studies in the Dhirubhai Ambani International School. So there is a lot of competition within the students, within the school. And, there is so many counselors and so many names that you get to hear. And there is this peer pressure of going to A, B, and C. And I think the whole of end of grade 10, I must have spoken to, I don't know how many counselors, made Abhinav meet a set of them. And we were still not very sure of how to go about it. So that took us some time till the time we actually said no. Inomi is some place, because I had the comfort of speaking to Richa and telling her. So while she was getting to know Abhinav, I also wanted to feed her with some information that I thought was relevant with him. And then sitting and working through. In fact, he started with wanting to do economics. And we just turned totally and went and started doing, he moved to maths and history, which was like one big jump. And we kept telling him that, your strong point is math, physics, and you love history. So where does eco come? And I think at that moment, he needed some guidance from somebody who was not his parent, because it was like, they just are talking what they are aware of. And I think Inomi was a big help that time, because we actually started, I think initial sessions we did was for eco, when we built his profile and tried to understand what is it that he has and what is it that we need to add on. So that was one big part, I think, that we could tackle. The second thing I realized was, while we had an idea, there is a profile that needs to be built, there is an academic thing that we need to have, there is to be some kind of community service. So we knew that there were things that had to be done in bits and pieces. But what was beautiful when we started the journey was to understand that it just can't be 10, different things. It has to be Abhinav, it has to be his story, it has to be his journey. So I guess somewhere, that hand holding, taking us through, walking us through that this is what the kid can achieve and this is how he wants to do was helpful. So I think that is something that we realized after he started interacting. And I think I should mention Ankit also, because Ankit was a big help for him, to talk through. The third thing that I think worked for us was the visit to the universities. So we did, while we started much in middle of 11th grade, I think this between the 11th and 12th grade, going for his summer school, honestly, I don't think summer school per se really helps with your application, but the fact that we did campus visits, and I know for a fact that we would not have Edith Brown had we not done the campus visit, because he felt very connected with the vibe, with the culture, with the subjects. He met a lot of students there. We did that with a lot of colleges, but his, the confidence he had to do an ED in Brown came purely after he spent those, whatever, half a day there speaking to people and understanding how it was. So that was another thing that I learned was, while we probably discuss it, but if you're going to a country like US, and we had never visited US earlier. So for us, it was a big comfort that, we could go and see and also understand where we had family and friends. So it's, while we have this stress of him going away for 4 years, for the first time leaving home, we at least had that connect that this is what we would want to do. So these were a few things I think that really helped us. Ruchi, he did a summer school with Harvard. So the thing that we also realized is, one, we should have started earlier in the sense that we could have utilized grade 10 holidays. So the holidays between grade 10 and 11.
Yeah,
we did prepare for his ACT though, but I think there was much more that we could have done. The second thing I think is what helped us by going through Inomi was that we suddenly wanted to do a lot, and I think there was a lot of opportunity cost there. So to get us down to earth and say that this is what you definitely need to do and this is what you can see if you want to do. I think that was another learning for us when we went through the whole process. And I honestly, we had to withdraw all our applications. I really don't know what he would have done in the other universities. But I think this was one big thing. I was in fact asking him before I came here, I said, is there something that you would have done differently? So he said one thing is that we would have started early. And the second thing is that what helped him was starting the essays early. preparing for the essays much earlier. And Richa had helped us with the prompts. So, the Common App prompt was there so he could work on it. What he said he would do differently is when he was applying to safety colleges, he would try and do their essays earlier, their essays on why this course, why this college, because it helped him understand how he could write better. So, he said, I would have preferred to do my safety colleges essays first because I would have understood that this is my style of writing and I can write it better. So that was a learning. And one last thing is the child needs to be able to put it across to the college as to what he is all about or she is all about. So there could be a lot of things he has done, but be able to put it across and get it out in whatever are the questions or the essays that you have, I think becomes very prime. And that's been, sorry, I've taken a lot of time, but I just
Thank
wanted
you
to
so much for
say
sharing
whatever was there.
really nice, very good insights from Abhinav's learnings also. And I'm so glad that he's actually made the effort to share what he would have done differently, which is also a good insight for us as we continue to, handhold many students. So my next question is to all of you. Did you, Shalu, Shail, and Deepta, is that I know that it's a very challenging journey. It's there is, of course, the whole pressure of getting into the good college where you want to go. Children are ambitious. And of course, there are stresses of these kids are growing up. They are having their own minds and all. So what role do you think you parents played in, one, through the journey, two, in helping them build the right profile that they needed for the college? So any of you could, if you could just, throw some light on it, it'll be really helpful for our audience.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I think health-wise, no, Anjana, what I think with these kids now, there is a lot of communication that needs to be there, and it has to be a very open communication. They get irritated, they are very sarcastic at times, they are like fed up. I think what is very important is to have the communication channel on. And trust me, for me, Richa and Ankit have been the people who I have, kind of gone to the back and told them, listen, he's not listening. This is what we want to convey. If you think it makes sense, can you put it across to him? Because if your child prefers to listen to somebody other than the parent, you need to have some kind of a partner in crime. So, but I think communication is prime, transparency is prime. And the fact that you trust their decisions, because honestly, I must have chewed his brain on why brown, why brown, why brown some 10 times. And every day he would give me reasons, which also made me believe that, he was very sure that this is what he wanted. So I think that is one big, big thing. And I did ask him, where did he think we supported him? So he said, you helped me brainstorm through the the essays as to what I should write. Of course, he did the same with Richa and Ankit also. But he said that really helped me because there were aspects of my life which probably, it didn't strike me and you could bring it out. So I think that was one thing that he said was supporting. And honestly, I think he spent more time with Inomi than he spent with us. So that was the kind of support that we gave. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Riju. Yes. Any of you, if you could just add that. Yes.
To add here, like Mayan had a counselor team in his school as well. So he studied at UWC in Singapore. And I think like what he, like, there was a lot of gyan and philosophy and you could do this and this, or what do you think about this and what do you think about this, or why don't you analyze this and why don't you analyze that? And I think the one thing that was missing perhaps was the action. And I think what we really got and what Mayan really benefited from was the approach that from Inomi and Richa, which was like all of that is fine. Karna kya hai? And can I just, get him to that, get them moving to, okay, yeah, you could do this and this or that or this or this or that, but like, karna kya hai? And then can I just, drive them forward towards, okay, this is the next milestone, this is the next thing, this is the next thing. And I think that is something that in general was like sorely missing from the school side. And I think without that, it was perhaps not going to be possible to kind of move through that journey in a practical manner, without getting lost in the just like the philosophy of it or the gyan of it, etc. And from our point of view, I think we were just like most of the time like sounding boards and just helping them along with the journey. And like I think sounding board is the best definition. But I think what really was the greatest value add from the approach that Mayan found at Inomi and Richa was just to move the process forward instead of getting lost in the options and directions and analysis and paralysis and this and that. Like karna kya hai, and then move on and say chop chop chop, get it done.
Great.
I fully agree. Exactly.
Yes.
And as I was mentioning, Tara was undecided. So having this sounding board of somebody kind of forcing her to say that, okay, let's do this, right? So she has this strong experience in music. So Anjana, you kind of, and Richa, you got her to present in front of some of the senior communities, and she did this concert with her fellow musicians at school. So all of this about saying that let's just get it done and giving some sort of interim deadlines that she has to follow, coming from a non-parent was hugely helpful. The same thing coming from a parent would not have helped. So I
Yes.
fully second that. Yes.
But
I
yes,
think
Diksha,
I
I have to
agree with
say,
all the,
yes, Shail, go ahead.
it seems like, first of all, I have to say, it seems like an IMA alumni meet here to me, but which is great, right? But I agree with all of that. But as you said, these kids are themselves ambitious, right? So that is the first thing. And actually, that was a disconnect between my philosophy and my husband, because he was like, let them just do it. Unless they want to do it, you can't do anything about it, right? So what I did was really just to be there and enable them, right? Because they're clear where they want to get to and what they want to do, and then help them prioritize. Because Sarah was also, I think some of the other kids might be doing IB diploma, which itself is quite demanding. And because we started late, everything just got squished into, a few months. So help them prioritize, and then just tell them, it's not a big thing. Help calm their nerves. I remember, Anjana, when we met you in Delhi, so I asked you, what do you think we should be doing? And you said, just help them calm their nerves, right? So I think that was true. And that's really helpful for them.
Yeah, thanks. But I must say that, like, having worked with Tara and Sarah, Tara had such a strong music base, and she had a discipline that she would follow with music and sport. That really was something that helped to play on that. Yes, you have this sounding. Now let's look at what is the next thing we should do and how do we cash upon it. So I think the parents have given a very big, I would say, very strong foundation there, and same with Sarah. And Shail, I have a question that I know that Sarah went through a lot of challenges as we were working through. She had health issues also, but still she would come around. And so how did you manage that? That was like, my heart would go out to her that, okay, she's again not feeling too well, and she had challenges on the health front. So just tell us, how did you navigate those challenges? That must have been so tough.
Yeah, it's basically a fine line, Anjana. And the basic, I trust her instinct. And for instance, she missed school quite a bit, right? And she missed a lot of sessions with you. And then I know that she would prioritize what is absolutely needed. And if she would say, I'm not well to go to school, I'm like, okay, don't go to school, right? So basically, the way I did it was really trust her instinct and support her pretty much, right? So that's how I basically did it.
Right.
I remember when she was choosing her subjects, one thing I was really keen on was, I was like, take high level math. How can you not do math, right? Then both my husband and I were engineers, and we were like, how can you not do math? And she didn't take math. And I'm like so thankful that she, did what she wanted to do. And she's been very clear about what she wants to do. So my role is really just to help her and enable her and just be around her, support her in whatever she wants to do.
I think that's what is really important, because the way I look at this journey is, I remember my daughter's days. It was a COVID time. She was stuck at home as preparing for college. and a lot of anxiety, so there was a time I remember that, listen, it's very important before she steps out of home for college is that she knows how to manage this anxiety and stress. That's way more important than where she's going. She'll be able to handle. So we need to equip the child towards that. And I'm so glad that everyone here also believe that, yes, you need to trust the child. There are times I say that you have to be either a guide, mentor, coach. So sometimes you have to be the guide, do this, and mentor, help them do that, and coach that, okay, take your decision, yes, and move on. These are the pros and cons towards it. So that's how we look at it. And so in terms of the colleges journeys and all, we've heard, thank you for sharing all your experiences. And I'm sure that all the students will have a great experience ahead wherever they are headed. And the thing is here that just wanted to understand little more for our audience is that how did you actually choose the destination that you chose? We heard the UK parents, they also had their share of experiences and insights to share. How did you actually choose US and, for your students? I know Shell shared US over UK, but, any
Think-
other
Yeah,
choice
our
that you have?
strategy was US only if it's a tier 1 college, otherwise UK. UK was our backup plan.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
something similar for us where like Mayan had great offers from Singapore, from UK, from the US, and like Diju, we had never been to many of those places. So we actually went and visited the campus to just get a feel for the place. And among the places that we went, like I think towards the end we had shortlisted like the top 2 or 3, and then we just went with how the place felt and how it, like, how he just kind of felt at home at that place. So he picked Princeton, and that was it for us. I think just visiting kind of made a difference.
Good. That sounds good.
I agree. I think, we live in the US, and US would have been the most obvious choice for us, but she's going to, I think, go to Canada now. So in our case, it was the main criteria was which university kind of gives us the maximum choice on how to build her first year. So, University of Toronto is kind of much more flexible than even US universities are. So that was one of the key criteria that we had.
Great.
So for us, it was more the flexibility because, like I said, he wasn't sure of what he wanted to do. We did consider Canada also, but for him, UK and India was a no purely because he said, I wanted to be flexible. I'm still not sure, though. He says he wants to do applied math and history. Let's see what he eventually does. There is one thing I just wanted to add as a parent. We've talked about how kids are feeling, but I realized as a parent, I was very overwhelmed with the number of choices we had and the number of things people around me, kids around me were doing, the kind of things parents around me were doing. And I remember telling Richa one day, I said, 17 saal ka hai, like, how much do you expect a kid to do? Let him be him. And she said, yeah, it is okay, but then that's how the competition is. And I think really it makes a lot of sense to let the kid be how he or she is and let them pursue. Of course, there is something you need to do, but just not get carried away with what everybody is doing and stick to what you think the child can do and talks about him or her as a person. So I think that is something that I've learned I think it's a big learning for me as a parent because I was totally overwhelmed with the kind of choices we had, with the kind of colleges we had, with the kind of stuff that was happening all around by way of APs, internships, jobs, projects. So I think that is something that as a parent, we also need to kind of think and sift through. And Inomi was one big help. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much. So when it comes to choosing US as a destination, one of the questions normally asked is, what about the finances? It's the most expensive, college journey, I would say. So any tips around that on financial planning when it comes to the US college journey when you're choosing? Any of you, that'll be great.
I don't know what are kidneys for, I guess.
It's an insurance for our
This is why we have two.
Okay, so I believe Meghna Mehta, your question was kind of answered by the two on whether you know it's a Ivy League profile. If you have, I hope that answered so far what we have discussed. That answered your question.
Meghna, honestly, Ivy League is not that big a thing. Ivy Leagues were actually colleges where the Ivies were grown and they played football. So trust me, don't go by the ranking, see where your child will fit in. That is more important culturally where the child fits in, academically where the child fits in. I would have loved my child to go to Harvard and MIT and Stanford, anywhere of those, and Princeton. But he realized that he would have done better in an environment like Brown. We'd had that conversation till the time he applied for Zadi. So I think we'll have to just trust them with what kind of fits them.
And I'm sure, Shell, you would say the same thing for Chicago. When we saw Shell's pictures at, Sarah's pictures at Chicago at the recent admitted days.
Yeah. You know, I think she resonates so well with the spirit and the ethos of Chicago, even though actually they say where fun goes to die. But the students, you know, do seem to have personality. And in fact, I met Shweta's daughter there in New Chicago, and, you know, they were doing improv in the night with other students. It's a very fun place, but yeah, it is rigorous academically. But I think it is about the fit. I can't agree more with that. You know, it's not about ranking. Rankings keep changing. You know, if you look at it, top 10, within 10, the top 10, but it's about the fit.
Perfect. So before
for the finance, you want, sorry.
Finance. Yes,
finance, two things. One is pre-college and the other is once they go to college. So we were like in the process, like how we all are talking, we are in the process of talking to senior parents in our school. And this one mother told me something which I really liked. She said, just keep aside 10 to 15 lakhs for your counselors, for preparing for tests, for any kind of extracurriculars, for traveling, doing summer school. She said, once you have that amount separate, you know how much you can work on. So that was one part. And I think it made it easier because every time we had to shell out money, it was like, oh my God, another X lakhs. So that was one insight I think that helped because we went with the mindset that this is something that will have to be spent. Coming back to the college, the thing was that when we were selecting, we were also looking at colleges where we could have got a scholarship. But then I realized that if you're looking at a top tier college and you're looking at STEM and it's an Asian male, this is all feedback I've received. I'm limiting it to the understanding that I have. It gets difficult to get a scholarship based on merit. So you have to go in with an idea that this is the budget that we can go in. There are colleges where you could get a scholarship or you could have a lower fee. And I think it's absolutely prudent for a parent to look at that before they apply. So while you can look at doing your financial planning, and it's absolutely fine if you don't have those kind of funds or you're looking at a loan or something, but it makes sense to go through the college piece and then take a call whether you would want to apply. We almost did not apply to Brown because I thought, what if he gets a scholarship at slightly lower tiered college? And then with that conversation with Richa, we actually consciously went and applied to Brown that, okay, if he doesn't have a merit scholarship, which is a rarity any which ways, we would still find out some ways to fund his education. So I think that is something as a parent we should do properly so that the kid doesn't feel that, you know, I've got admission and now I don't have the funds.
That's great. So before we move on to our Canada panel, one last message to the upcoming cohorts. Any one of you, all of you, just one tip that you want to leave behind?
You know, I'd like to second Shell in terms of, I think she mentioned in terms of ranking keeps changing, right? This wisdom came to me a little late because, you know, you start off, especially being an Indian parent, on looking at what are the rankings are. I think what the insight that we realized after a while is to think about rankings as groups, right? So you have the top 10, top 20 colleges, then 20 to 50, 50 to 75, 75 to 100, and anything beyond 100. In reality, US is such a large country, and with so many choices, you would be surprised. You know, I've worked in the US now for seven years, and back in the UK had many US colleagues. A lot of people come from colleges that we have never heard of, and they do really well because the whole ecosystem here of education is actually kind of work. So don't think of rankings in terms of numbers, think of them as groups. And as long as your child is kind of fit somewhere in that group, which actually is a good fit for that child, you know, they will do well.
That's a very wonderful insight and useful insight. And as we also say, it's not where you go, it's what you make of it. So once you are there, how do you actually, use the opportunities available and, reach out and actually make your career? That matters a lot more than where you go. And each of these colleges have wonderful faculty courses. I'm talking primarily of US, and I can see my daughter blossoming where she is. She's at the University of Southern California doing what she's passionate about doing. And she has so many opportunities. She's also earning along the way, of course, a small pocket money, but she's quite happy about, and she's earning through the research that she's, in the subject that she's passionate about. So on that note, thank you so much for a very engaging discussion and sharing your insights and tips, and for joining us on a Saturday evening. And so over to you, Richa, for Canadian colleges. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anjana, and thanks, guys, for sharing so much. You guys were being so humble. I know how much you guys supported each of your children. So it's not just that the child is leading the way. I think that backdrop of a supportive parent is something that I learn from all of you every year. And I see parents like you supporting their child. So thanks so much for sharing everything. All right.
Thanks.
So thanks, Shell.
Thank you, Richa. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
you so
Shalu.
much.
Okay, so now moving on to Canada. So, both my children are studying in Canada. My daughter's studying in McGill, and my son is studying in Emily Carr in Vancouver. And we have two other parents whose children are studying in Canada. There's Rachna Pandya, whose daughter is studying in UBC. Rachna, are you there? There you are.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
And we have Papia, whose daughter is studying in the University of Toronto. So between the three of us, really the three of Canada's top universities are represented, which is University of Toronto, UBC, and McGill. And it's a very different experience from most other countries. So let me just start by asking the two of you, what prompted you to choose Canada? What's your experience been like? Rachna, why don't you go first?
Thanks, Richa, for having me here. I mean, it's really a proud moment to be able to speak about the child. Normally, we don't get to do that, so it's really nice. Yeah. So I think in my case, in Sukanya's case, it was she who decided about Canada. Of course, I was the one who was like, okay, let's look at other countries as well. But she was quite clear. I mean, UBC was one of her dream colleges, and thanks to you, Richa, and Kritika, and the entire team in Inomi, I guess she just got what she wanted. And the journey was beautiful, but I guess it was more from her end. She was quite clear that she wants to go to Canada over other countries. Of course, UK and US were in the list, but she was quite skewed.
Right, absolutely. Papia, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Hi.
And tell us a little bit about how you chose Canada and what has the experience been like so far?
My choice of the universities in Canada was very clear because my son was already in Queens, and he has, I mean, by grace of God, he has done an excellent job. He found himself a job immediately after his graduation. So all along, my daughter.
We seem to have lost your voice.
Can't hear her.
Papia, we seem to have lost your voice. Yeah, now it's back. I think you were on mute by some chance. You said he found a job. After that, we didn't hear you.
Yeah. So that is how, inspired by her brother Ariana also was very inclined towards Canada, and we narrowed down on 10 universities depending on what subject she wanted to pursue. And thanks to Inomi, thanks Richa, thanks Ritika. It has been not a very smooth journey, but yes, eventually we got where Ariana wanted to be. UFT, her dream university, and I'm so thankful to all of you. Thankful to God that she's there now and she's enjoying her first year.
That's great to hear. So, my daughter and son too, if I can add as a Canadian parent, are enjoying their university experience. But what I
Right.
particularly want to ask the two of you is that, Canadian universities are known to be rather academically, I would say, rigorous. In the
Yes.
sense that they sometimes say that it's easier to get into the university than to get out of it, and that, the
True.
academic rigor is very high. So, how
Yeah,
has
it is.
been your experience of academic life in Canada?
Right now, after she's appearing for her finals in the first year. It has been the first few months has been a bit easier. It was more of the education what she had already done in her A levels, and but this the second term, the winter session has become a bit strenuous, and she has to put in a bit more amount of labor into studies. But then, yeah, she's coping, and she is coping majorly because she has chosen subjects which she has always wanted to do. And she had psychology in her A levels. She is doing psychology now. Apart from that, she has chosen sociology, economics, and EVM. And sociology is what she is actually focusing now to do her majors in. I think it's not that they are always into studies. She gets her personal time also. But yes, you have to be on your toes.
Rachna, what's your experience been like on this front?
Yeah, and on this first, at least, Sukanya was from, CBSE, so I guess she had a little bit of a change in the way of studying, and but I think she scoped up better than I expected. One, because she took the subjects that she wanted to. In fact, she experimented with a few subjects, and she wanted to pick up things that she normally wouldn't get to do. For example, she did something around anthropology and I don't know, whatever. I mean, that was something strange for me. I was like, why did you pick those up? But she said, because I want to experience those subjects. And I think that was very nice because she was enjoying it. It was something different. And she would call up saying, hey, I'm very excited about this topic. She would send screenshots of some of those, chapters. So we were quite engaged, and I personally feel that she managed it fairly well. Every time I call her, she's always, in the library and doing something which is very, academic. So I'm just wondering, she's really studying so much. But you're right, Richa, I think it's very rigorous. A lot of submissions, research papers. But if the kid gets to do what they really want to do, and the interest is, they decide what they want to do, I think they do a good job. The accountability is with them. And she wants to do international affairs or international relations. I think she's picked up some subjects and she's doing fairly well.
Wonderful. No, I have also had the same experience. Like, Ambika, my daughter, she had got to University of Toronto and McGill. So, Papia, University of Toronto is also sometimes called University of Tears, U of T, because it's supposed to be academically really rigorous. So she said, oh, I don't want to go to the University of Tears. So I said, listen, you choose your challenge level, right? So she chose McGill, which is also known to, be tough. But there, the line is work hard, party hard. So she said, okay, that's what I want to do, right? And that's what she's doing. So I find that she's able to handle the rigor because she made that choice between the two herself. And that's been actually a big learning for me also, that because I wanted her to go off to U of T. But if I had pushed her there, I'm sure I'd still be hearing about, this is too tough and you're always pushing me and so on. So I think it worked to help her make that decision really between the two, right? So now one question which is I think very pertinent, which is over here, is about the weather. You know, what everybody says about Canada is
Yeah.
about how cold it is over there, and particularly Montreal, where my daughter is studying, it freezes over. It's sometimes -20, -30. You know, it's colder than we can possibly ever imagine, even though we freeze here. And Toronto's again very, very cold. Vancouver, even though it receives a little less snow, it still gets quite cold. And then it gets dark in Canada as well. So, how has the experience of the students in dealing with the weather been?
Yeah, maybe I'll go first on this one. At least for Vancouver, as far as I know, that you're right, it's very raining. All the while it's raining, right? And there are days which are bright, but then again, it's back to rain. It becomes dark. And also the winters can be a little tough because we're not used to that. Having said that, I think the kids manage it better than we can think. In terms of snow, of course, Sukanya enjoyed that a bit. She manages, she's got all her hoodies and, umbrellas and stuff like that. They have fun. I mean, I personally feel the kids, if they're enjoying the college, if they're enjoying the company, the course, then this is not the biggest of challenges. In Sukanya's case, also she had other friends. She makes friends very fast, so I think that helped. She chose UBC over, I mean, she got into other colleges like Toronto, Waterloo, McGill, but I guess she was very clear with UBC because it has a good, sports facility as well. And the campus was her criteria, plus the weather. She also did a lot of research. And I think more than the parents, she was very clear in terms of, the place to go.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. I'm totally with you that when the child is clear, they are able to handle the challenges of weather or academic rigor pretty well. Papia, two of your kids have dealt with very, very cold cities in Canada. So how has that experience been?
Actually, the first year, Ariana also she was not very happy with the snow around, but then she became habituated. What I felt with my son was the first year is the difficult period where you actually, and then gradually you acclimatize. And right now, when the weather is changing into the spring or summer, whatever they call it, then Ariana is suffering with throat infection. And so this change in weather, when it is from spring to winter and then back from winter to spring, this two seasons is what the child actually has to, should be prepared. But other than that, with friends and all, as Rachna said, then they really enjoy whatever the weather.
Right, absolutely. In my experience, if the children are mentally prepared that it's going to be like this, then there are certain things that, of course, you need to get into place, so they need to have their snow boots, they need to have a really, really warm jacket. But the good thing about these countries is that all the environments inside are heated. So it's quite comfortable so long as you know that when you're stepping outside, I have to be dressed in this particular way. But you can just put your coat on and your snow boots on, and then you are okay. I think the one important thing is that because it gets dark, they need their vitamin D supplements. And that's really important for them to keep up with. So my daughter had a very good run in the initial bit of winter, but then there was a little slump happening with both the kids, my son also in Vancouver. And then we were like, remember, we've got that vitamin B12 is there, vitamin D is there, please start taking your supplements. And once they get back into the supplements, I think everybody in Canada takes supplements during winter.
Yes,
So
and one thing I would suggest is the flu shot. Once you reach whichever place, like my son was in Queens, in Kingston, so he took, after the first year, he took a flu shot there. And right now, I was suggesting Ariana to take flu shot in Toronto. So, before the fall season, because that is when the weather changes and hopefully, whoever, I don't want any of the kids to be falling sick. So
no,
it's a
but I get
suggestion.
the point. Yeah. It's
Just a
important.
suggestion that they might go in for a flu shot. And moreover, we Indian parents, what I did with both of them is I packed a few medicines, which they knew that it works in India and it would work there also.
Yes, absolutely. A good medical kit will really, really
Yeah. I packed a box of, and I wrote, and on top of each medicine, I labeled it as to what it is and what time it should be taken, especially with anti-allergy, antibiotics, etc.
Right, wonderful, Papia. Deepta, are you still there? Okay, I'm not sure she's there because she chose Canada over the US despite being a US citizen. So I just wanted to have her inputs on what her thinking was. There you are.
There, Deepta.
Right.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
If I just wanted to get your inputs on this one, that you chose University of Toronto when you had a NYU admission. So what prompted that choice of Canada over the US, being US citizens yourself?
Yes. Yes. So sorry, I've been lurking around. I just wanted to hear what the experience of Canada is because my daughter is likely to go to University of Toronto. In our case, the main reason why I think she's chosen University of Toronto is that when we went, the campus, I mean, she really liked that old, Victorian kind of buildings and everything because she spent first 12 years of her life in London. So she's kind of, she likes that old European sort of feel and look. And secondly, University of Toronto for us gave the maximum amount of flexibility because she's not quite sure of what she really wants to do eventually. They made it a point to kind of talk to her and tell her that there is a fair amount of flexibility in terms of where she would eventually go. She can change her major several times. In fact, a couple of students who very kindly came and spoke to her one-on-one also explained that they themselves had changed the majors a few times. So for us, that was actually the main thing. Because she's undecided, we really wanted to kind of, stick to a place where she can just choose, even if it takes a few iterations.
Right, Deepta. In fact, I'll echo both those statements about the Victorian architecture, particularly. One of the reasons why my daughter went for McGill was because of the architecture, because it looks like Hogwarts. So she said, okay, like, whatever works, right? And yes, flexibility, like you were saying, Rachna, she was doing this course called Religion and Sexuality. And I was like, what are you going to do with that? But she said, oh, but I love reading about it. And they're discussing the Mahabharata to begin with. Right, so that stuff was really encouraging in Canada. I had actually not expected those many options and flexibility, and that was really, really good. So, for you, Papia, I had another question about the co-op program. So, Queen's has a co-op program, and I don't know, does UBC also have a co-op in the program? That UBC also has a co-op. So, I think Queen's, you've been through a co-op program, Papia. What was that experience like?
As far as I know, they don't give that co-op program to everyone.
Okay. So your son didn't avail of it?
No. He was very sure about what he wanted to study, so he just went ahead with that. Business and finance. Yeah.
Right. Rachna, was that a consideration when you were choosing your UBC, the co-op program? Can you tell us a little bit about what you liked about the program?
Yeah. So Kanya was very clear that she wanted to take a university which has a co-op program, and UBC has a very active co-op program. That was her choice. I was not aware about the co-op thing, but she was very clear that she wants to avail of this, even if she's very sure about what she wants to do in terms of her interests. But that was the reason why she picked up UBC. In fact, she got, if I remember correctly, she did get a couple of scholarships in other universities, but she picked UBC where she did not get a scholarship thing because of the co-op program.
Absolutely, yes. I think what Canada co-op programs do, for those who are not aware, is that they give you a actual job experience for 8 to 10 months in a company in your area. And that, though in that year you also have a few classes on campus, but mostly it's the work that you are doing, and that really sets you up for applying for jobs later when your course gets over. One, because you have an experience, and two, the co-op company itself might give you an offer. So it's a very useful thing that these universities do to integrate students into the Canadian system itself. Right? Okay, so Avni, to answer your question about the STEM system, no, Canada does not distinguish between STEM and non-STEM kids when it comes to their visa process. Everybody gets a 3-year post-study work visa. And typically, if you get a job and you are enjoying it in Canada, then most students will apply for permanent residency in the second year of working and then take it from there. So it's the same whether you are a STEM student or a non-STEM student. Also, there's more flexibility in the kind of job that you choose. Like in the US, your job has to be related to the major that you've done. But in Canada, any job, so long as, it meets certain criteria and minimum wages, etc., works. So that way the flexibility for the student is higher, right? Okay, so there's another question about the job situation in Canada at the moment and how universities are helping with jobs. So Papia might be able to tell us more about that.
Actually, in his second year itself, Aryaman was very sure that he wanted to do an internship. And that happened to be the COVID time. So he was with me in Lagos and he got into Deloitte, India. So he did 3 months, I think, the summer vacation he did in Deloitte, India. And then eventually, when he went back in the third year, he took up another internship of twice. As far as I remember, I think he did one session, winter session, with his studies together, and then again he repeated it in the spring session, again with the studies. So he did one full year of internship, and that is how, I mean, I'm very happy that he's now a financial consultant with Deloitte. And the second thing about campus placement, yes, there were a few companies who had come to the campus, and looking at the economic or political situation, I'm not very sure how to comment for the job opportunities. But yes, right now, my son is enjoying working in Deloitte, Toronto.
Right. So the economic situation in Canada is not very encouraging at the moment. I think partly because of the tech layoffs and partly because they're a welfare state, and like most welfare states, there is, a certain stagnation that comes in their
Correct.
growth. So I
Correct.
would imagine that the steps that your son took, it sounds like he really worked hard to
Yes,
stand out among the rest
absolutely.
of the
Yes.
students. That's what a student really needs to do
Yeah.
to get a job.
Basically, the focus should start from the second year itself. And right now, even Ariana, when she's coming home, she will be here for 2 months. She's also looking for something as internship, so that it matters a lot as to what comes on your CV. So the child, as I mean, all kids nowadays, they are more aware about what they want to do in life rather than what we were aware at our when we were in college. So that ways, I would suggest that they should start looking for something from the first year, and eventually in the second and the third year, whatever they want actually to do in life, they should focus on that.
Wonderful, great. That's great. Rachna, any last words or messages you want to add for parents who are starting the journey here?
Yeah, I think a couple of things that really worked for Sukanya and us as parents. One is to start early in the journey, right? So we had Inomi and Richa and Kritika support Sukanya around after her 10th. So we had around 2 years. So the first year, the help was also to decide what subjects to take. And I remember a number of rounds that, Sukanya had with both of you or either of you at any point. There was also a time that I had a point of view, and I think Richa really helped to hear Sukanya out. And then, I could take a step back saying, hey, Sukanya has somebody else to talk to. And I think what Inomi does, the team does, is prioritize the child's, they become the voice of the child and also guide the child rather than looking at from the parents' views. And that's, I think, very important. As parents, for so many years, we've been always guiding the child. And at some point, you need to step back. And I think that's the time where you really want to hand over to somebody who has the best intent for the child. And that's where it really helped. Starting early helped. Second is, first year, I actually felt that Sukanya is being very lazy, right? But I think she picked up, she got comfortable with the team. And the second year, or, which was the COVID time, she ended up doing a lot of volunteering activities, a lot of projects, and it was a little surprised. She was quite self-motivated. I think the motivation also came in from Inomi team. I remember, Richa, you suggesting books. to her that she could read, that I think it also helped in interviews, right? Whether it was Ashoka, she actually had applied because I pushed to apply, a few of these Indian universities, thinking that, maybe I will not have a heart to send her off. She's the only child. But, she did quite well, much better than I would have expected of her. Third was I also went through some health crisis, and that was the time I think I was so thankful, and I'm really grateful to the team that they really continued to support Sukanya. She had somebody to talk to, somebody to bounce ideas. The essays were very well taken care in terms of giving, reviewing, giving, some inputs. I guess that really worked. And lastly, I would say, and I asked Sukanya before speaking on her behalf, I think what really helped is shortlisting of those universities and the locations and the places, right? Which as parents, we have a different point of view, but she could really bounce ideas. We had a whole list of, shortlisted ones where we said, okay, these are the ones that these are our top ones. This is my dream college, and these are our safety colleges. But that really helped. And lastly, I think as parents, we continue to support, and I know that, Papia talked about internship. That is very, very important. And Sukanya has taken her own little initiative, and I think she's got a very good paid internship in India when she's coming back this year. So there also, I would say, if the children are motivated, then I think they pick up threads, and that's where, as parents, what we do is, we just say, okay, we started well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rachna. That means a lot. Thank you very, very much. And thanks all of you for sharing, Papia, Deepta, and Rachna. Thanks for sharing all your perspectives here. Rashmi, are you still there? Rashmi is asking about Hong Kong, which we've not covered. So very briefly, I'll tell you that, the two leading universities in Hong Kong, HKU and HKUST, we've had several of our students apply before the Chinese occupation. It was a very, very popular destination and very good value for money. After that, I think what happened is that since the political environment changed, that several Rashima, Rashima. Yeah. So I'm saying that, so once the political environment changed, I think some companies exited, some headquarters shifted back to Singapore. So that very vibrant financial environment in Hong Kong, that came down a little bit. And, people also, most of our students have sort of stopped applying. This year, we've had a couple of students applying again. So we went back to our students who were studying earlier and asked them what their experience was. So they say that, Hong Kong is a great place to study. The only one thing that they say sometimes, the professors' accents may be difficult to follow. Sometimes international students are a small group that are by themselves, and it's not so easy to integrate with the local janta over there. So those challenges are there, which I guess is an international environment challenge. But we can discuss it in more detail, Rashima, later on a one-to-one basis. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you parents for being so open and sharing all your insights. And thank you everyone for taking time out on Saturday to join in. Enjoy your weekend, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Richa.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.